Okay, now another weird comparison with the Z52. And today we're going to talk about the Xt5 and the Z52. These are very different cameras, but there are a few things that are common. These are both APS-C cameras. They are both compact cameras. They can be seen as travel cameras. I honestly love my Xt5. Honestly, love it every time I touch it, every time I shoot with it. I love it. I love the lens that I have for Xt5, the Fuji's 33 1.4. Fuji's 35 1.4 was great. Its 23 1.4 is fantastic. So all of these Fuji lenses are so good. The only other camera manufacturer that has the kind of lenses that I personally like using apart beyond Nikon is actually Fuji. So let's compare the Xt5 with the Z52. Like I said, it's relevant at this point because Fuji is doing quite a few things wrong, and I think they're trying to overdo with a lot more, so many different features, but missing out on ensuring the fundamentals. And by that I mean fundamental autofocus, both for video and for photos. Shot a wedding with the Z52. I shot birding with the Z52. I did some street photography with the Z52 with some portraits. The Z52 is absolutely flawless when it comes to autofocus. Like, I don't remember having missed a single shot. I don't remember, like, I wanted to do something and the autofocus came in the way. It never happened with the Z52. It never happened with the Z52. It's a sub $1,000 camera. It's not a very expensive camera. It's a light camera that has an enormous grip. How has Nikon managed that? Only they know. The cameras with battery and card are very similar in terms of weight. Both are like almost 550 grams, so very similar. I have to add an additional grip on my Xt5 for my comfort, and it's a small rig grip. The grip is rubbery, it's nice, but then you're adding something to the camera in order to hold it, which I understand. It's a choice of aesthetics by Fuji. The Nikon ZF has the same thing. Nikon ZF has no grip. It's a flat camera. Add an I did add another small grip to this camera as well. So that's an aesthetic choice. But then the Z52 comes in built with a fantastic grip, right? The Z52 has a deeper grip, but it has a smaller battery. The battery, let me show you the battery of the Z52. It's only this much. It's a small, tiny battery. When it comes to the battery, its capacity, the Fuji battery is quite big. I don't have the Fuji battery with me right now, but it's a chunkier battery. It's more like the battery that you have for Nikon. It's almost the same size. Fuji batteries, the full size batteries are like this. So although the Fuji feels like a flatter camera, it actually houses a big battery with more juice. The Fuji comes with IBIS, and the IBIS on Fuji is quite good. It's not bad at all. In fact, I quite like the tastefully done IBIS on the Fujis. Okay, especially when it comes to video, the little bit shake that you get on the Fuji IBIS, it feels organic. The Z52, of course, does not come with any IBIS at all. So that's, for me, is not a miss at this price point, because that's a standard for this price point. But then that's something you have to remember, that you do not have IBIS on the Z52. The Fuji also has a tilt up screen, which I like for photography, to be honest. For Z52, it's sort of a bit more hybrid, bit more video focused. You have a flip out screen, which is great for video, like vlogging or putting it on a tripod, looking at yourself and then shooting, ensuring the framing is right for video. But while shooting photos, is, to me, it's not that convenient. But then what it forces you to do is use the EVF mode. You can just shut the screen like this, okay, keep it closed, and use the EVF. The EVF is bright. It's 1000, I think it's 1000 nits. It's double the brightness as the original Z50. It's definitely brighter than the Xt5 as well. The Xt5, by the way, the screen, the fiber of the glass front is always outside. You can't sort of hide it. Like, you can fold the flip out screen here and protect the screen. You can't do that on the Xt5. a bit more secure that way. Overall, if you look at custom buttons, Fuji Xt5 actually has a lot of custom buttons, but then the Z52 has more custom buttons than the Fuji Xt5. Well, the Fuji has, but the Z50 doesn't have any Nikon camera. No Nikon cameras actually have this feature, and that's to customize the swipes. Like if I swipe up on Fuji, it's a function button almost. If I swipe down, it will activate a certain kind of function. So I can use the screen in different ways. It's a very smart implementation by Fuji. Overall, when it comes to picture quality, the Fuji comes with a 40 megapixel sensor, which can be quite clean, and you get most of the megapixels worth when you shoot up to f5.6. But if you go beyond f5.6, most APS-C lenses will struggle to resolve for 40 megapixels, right? So you're not going to have the get the value of 40 megapixels if you're shooting at f8, for example. The Z52 does not have 40 megapixels. It's half, a 20 megapixel sensor. But then when it comes to actual dynamic range, they're very similar. The color output is something I like on the Nikon, especially the skin. The way it treats skin tone is beautiful on the Nikon. Fuji has a little bit of magenta tone that I've seen, aggressive magenta tone. So you have to sort of ensure that you tone it down, right, a little bit on Fuji. It's a bit more difficult to use Fuji JPEGs straight out of the camera for portraits, at least for my taste. You can do that with the Nikon Z52, and I've done that. It's beautiful. The raw files of both these cameras have enough juice for APS-C cameras. They're quite good, they're quite strong. Clearly, if you're trying to crop a lot, the Xt5 is the camera to choose. But let me tell you, in most situations, you're not cropping a lot. For most situations, 20 megapixels is enough. If you're shooting wildlife, though, yeah, first of all, if you're shooting wildlife, the Xt5 is not the ideal camera for shooting wildlife. But if you're shooting wildlife, if you're able to get a shot in focus, you can crop a lot with the Fuji Xt5's 40 megapixels image files. You can't crop a lot with the Z50, you still can crop by about 50%. But then the kind of performance the Z50 gives you in the field is brilliant. It's a true blue birding camera with its animal eye detect and bird autofocus, the same capabilities that we have in Z8 and Z9. And I've used this camera in the field. I've used both these cameras in the field shooting birds. Let me tell you, the Fuji is good. You can like if you're a bit patient, if you are not prone to getting frustrated, you can do good birding with the Fuji Xt5. But the Z52 is like performing at some other level altogether. It is so fast. It's so fast to spot a bird, to track it. It feels like it's absolutely effortless. You just can't compare the Z52's birding performance with the Xt5. Just cannot compare. They're not in the same league at all. At all. When it comes to video autofocus, it's the same thing. The Nikon can really detect an eye, a subject from really far away. The Fuji cannot do it from that much of a distance. But then in normal situations, the Fuji is good enough, especially for portraiture and everything. But if there's a lot of movement, especially at this point, Fuji has a lot of firmware debacle going on. It's like hit and miss for Fuji. I'm not even updating the Fuji firmwares because I'm scared that, the autofocus will get wrecked. I think I did a couple of updates, then I stopped updating the Fuji. You don't have like the only camera brand that I have seen that when they release a firmware update, it doesn't come with bugs is Nikon. They're well tested firmware releases, and I would really expect Nikon to continue doing that. So I have no problem if I start getting firmware updates on my Z52. I'm going to always update my camera. I'm going to keep them updated. You've got bugs in Canon firmware updates. You've got bugs in Sony firmware updates. You've definitely got bugs in Fuji firmware updates. But with Nikon firmware updates, the cameras only seem to become more and more powerful. They typically delete your frustrations, not add to them. So overall, if you look at the track record, great. It's about $600 less than the Xt5. but at the same time, it's much more reliable. It has a deeper grip. It's an amazing viewfinder, brighter viewfinder. And in most situations, you have so many custom buttons that it's a joy to use the Z52. At the same time, let me tell you, Nikon is sort of stressing a bit more on JPEG picture profiles that Fuji is a master of, because you get this all those picture profiles and recipes on Fuji that people buy Fuji for. Nikon is not playing at that level because you're not able to customize the picture profile so much as you can do on your Fuji cameras. But then Nikon's intent is clear. You actually have a dedicated picture control button here. When you just press that, you can just shift between different picture controls. I like some of the picture controls, especially like the rich tone portraits, the black and white picture profile versions. I really like them. They're really, really nice, especially the black and white ones are really good. Eventually though, on Fuji, if you're using Fuji for some time, you'll end up choosing one or two picture profiles that you'll use the most. So you'll probably end up shooting in Astia Soft or Eterna or Nostalgic Neg. So different people have different preferences, but then you settle on one of them. Typically what works in most camera brands is the portrait, flat, and the standard picture profiles. And whenever you're shooting Fuji, you're eventually looking for the standard Fuji colors or the standard Fuji goodness in their colors. You'll do the same for Nikon, and you'll typically settle with Nikon standard picture profile, which is fantastic for JPEGs. So overall, I would say the Fuji Xt5II is good. It's more retro, it's more stylish, it's got dual card slots, it's got a bigger battery. It's supposed to be more premium, but the Z52 is just more reliable. Finally, in the end, you look at what kind of lens options you have. Do you have cheap lens or expensive lens? Are they good or the bad? Now, Fuji has a lot of options when it comes to lenses. They have this f2 Fuji crons, like the 23 f2, 35 f2. But then I find that most Fuji lenses are actually expensive for an APS-C lens. For example, the 35 1.4, especially in most markets. It's probably not true for US markets or European markets, I'm not too sure, but at least in my market, in Asian markets, the Fuji lenses can be expensive, although they are APS-C lenses. The good thing about Nikon is that you can buy full frame lenses and you can be ready for upgrade to full frame camera if you're like starting out with it. If not, I'll just write down the lens options you have from Nikon for Nikon APS-C. You have quite a few actually, especially zooms, but then also some primes. You also got power zooms for video with the Nikon. If you're looking for a slower camera, more tactile, more classy to look at, non-traditional, and you don't worry about speed, autofocus accuracy every time you press the shutter button, then the Fuji is fine. But if you're looking for a more reliable, fun, fast, smart, so that's my opinion on this comparison. Let me know what you think. I think this is a very interesting comparison. The more apt comparison from a price point standpoint will be the XM5 versus the Z52. But I think, well, I have these two cameras, and so I intuitively compare them. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to push this channel towards getting 8,000 subscribers in the next 6 months. Help me out in that journey. And for the ones who have been with me for the last 3 years, I really am thankful to you guys for supporting the channel and just keeping me motivated. Let me know what you think for this. What's your opinion is on this weird review. I'm going to see you soon with another one.